Good morning, everyone. Welcome to ISUW. We are going to start the session, a very interesting session today. Electric vehicles, a 200 billion opportunity in India to be unlocked. So to start the session, may I please invite Chair of the session, Mr. Richard Schomberg, on the dais. Moderator of the session, Mr. Sabyasachi, requesting you to please join us on the dais. Mr. B.K. Panigrahi, please join us on the dais. Himanshu Chawla, Head Regulatory and Research, PFI, please join us on the dais. Sri Saikat Chakravarti, Professor, IIT Kanpur, please join us on the dais. Sri Pradeep Agrawal, GM, BACS Rajdhani, please join us on the dais. Sri Srinu Babu Matta, Head Project and Planning, Tata Motors. Do we have Srinu Babu around? Ms. Meenal Malviye from EcoG, please join us on the dais. Sri Krishna Chandra from Noida Power Company Limited. And Sri Anuj Kumar, Head Public and Bus Charging, Tata Power. Mr. Anuj Kumar. So they'll be joining us shortly, I think one of two of the panelists. So we have a theme presentation. We have a theme presentation in the beginning. So over to you, Mr. Sabyasachi. Thank you.
Yeah, good morning, everyone. And I take this opportunity to welcome all of you to this panel discussion. And first of all, thanks to PFI for giving me this opportunity to be the co-moderator along with Mr. Chawla. I mean, this is a very big and a very distinguished panel, and I think it will need both of us to moderate it. So really hoping that, to gain a lot out of this, and I'm sure everyone will benefit. So first of all, I'd like to welcome Mr. Schomberg to this event and thank him for taking his busy time out for our event. So first I would like to hear from you, sir. I mean, some thoughts about, the future of electric mobility and how the grid can be strengthened for meeting the requirements of the electric mobility segment.
If you allow me, good morning, everyone. It's an absolute privilege to chair this session and to address this distinguished group of experts, colleagues, and people sharing actually this incredible dream about electric vehicle that is coming up. Looking at India's electric mobility journey from an international perspective, the scale of ambition here is not just inspiring, it is globally consequential. It is truly consequential. India stands at a very decisive inflection point, and the shift toward electric vehicle, of course, is an urgent climate imperative, but it is equally a very interesting opportunity, business opportunity of $200 billion. And this is very important because cleaning the planet, of course, everyone wants to contribute cleaning and saving the planet, but we know now it's not enough to claim it or to dream to pray that everyone will do its best to just clean the planet. You need to have a real financing proposition going up with it. Otherwise, it doesn't work. Well, reaching 30% of EV penetration by 2030 is extremely ambitious. Extremely ambitious. Of course, it is quite obvious. We'll reduce the oil import, clean the air in all those vibrant cities. And also, and this is also, I guess, maybe a very important pillar, positioning India as a global manufacturing and battery technology hub. You see, up to now, well, I've been following, and I have a passion for electrification of everything as a past executive from a very large global electric utility. And to me, you see, at the very beginning, I was very much impressed by Japan. And simply, well, I will name a company not because I'm advertising, but because I think they deserve. They've been doing the heavy lifting, which is Toyota. And you see, with the Prius, with the hybrid at the beginning, and then they came up very, very early with some solutions. You see, to have the inverter in the trunk of the car, so that because in Japan they are very much exposed to severe and extreme events, even earthquakes. So they had developed that kind of solution to, you know what, you get home and you can actually plug the inverter and power as a UPS, power the home. That's already a long time ago. So we know it's not a question of technology. It's not rocket science. And to me, the pioneer was really Japan, but very quickly, actually, another Asian country has been running at the forefront and almost, they are about to take the world. I'm not going to name any country or any brand, but even Tesla, you see, that's another thing that, I was in the U.S. Scouting for innovations and investment in startup company. And I remember it was around 2006. I had meetings with some startups working on incredible devices and new transformers. And at the end of the meeting, my friend, the CEO of the startup, said, "Hey, Richard, I want to show you something. You see, just across the street, there is an incredible startup that is developing an electric car. And you know what? This was not Tesla. Tesla has been acquiring this startup. But of course, many things happened. We see a market coming up, so it's no more a question of technology. And this is very interesting. We have to keep that in mind. We might have a discussion about technology here in this session, but I think this is no more the very challenge. And the progress, of course, is already visible in India, with heating almost 8% in 2024, and then total EV stock crossing the 5 million vehicles. You have government initiatives that definitely have successfully accelerated adoption. However, the strategies that got India to this point will not be enough to achieve mass scale. And as India is moving forward, policy direction must evolve much beyond incentives. And I can share the example of Europe, as I live in Europe currently. And in Europe, you see, there are a lot of political claims, incredible political claims at the level of the European Commission and at the level of each of the 27 member states. And what's going on really on the ground. Of course, there are some offers, but whatever has been done, whatever is going on, is actually fueled by the incentives. And I am really scared that it's not going to really scale up very quickly, because the people are just scouting for incentives, and definitely also the European Commission had the great idea to put a penalty on the car manufacturers if they don't manufacture and sell some target number of EVs. How do you want this to work? It's not creating a market. It's all artificial, just to be able to brag and say, you know what, Europe is extremely well positioned, if not the leader, the world leader. In Europe, even people have not been succeeding in establishing a EV battery business. Oh, there have been so many claims. I've been involved personally, you see, in many projects or even political discussions with the European Commission. There have been a lot of incentive. There have been huge factories that have started to be built, but they don't fly. You see, they just get bankrupt. They just, okay, so I'm, you see, here, I'm just trying to frighten India, to make sure that India does not repeat this kind of craziness if really India wants to deploy those EVs, and with a very quickly and with a high level of penetration. So very important is that India needs to start looking at mandates, city level saturation models, and that's very relevant for India, and corridor-based electrification. Crucially, also, there is an incredible gap with the heavy transport. Of course, they are causing probably most of the pollution, and then they are very interesting large target for electrification. But of course, those buses and trucks would need a lot of money to first evolve and get improved, but also you need to face all the technological uncertainties. You see, the issue there is when you invest, okay, but you don't want to invest in making stranded investments on those technologies. And it's tricky because it is still moving quite quickly. And of course, also, you see, a major issue with EVs is that there is no second-hand market. That's what we experience in Europe. No one wants to buy a second-hand EV for a very simple reason, the battery. No one knows how the battery stands in its life cycle, and the technologies are changing, evolving, and there is not enough return of experience. So this is really an issue. Those are questions to be thought about and resolved in advance to then make the right decisions to move forward. So over the next 2 hours, I hope this panel is going to explore the pathways to overcome these exact hurdles, and we will unpack blended finance models, discuss the battery life cycle transparency with your battery passport concept, and also examine how to integrate the EVs with the grid services like V2G. And this is not miscellaneous, because this requires actually the utilities to do very, very high investments in advance. So it's tricky not to be in a chicken and egg situation here. where the people wait until there are charging stations, and the utilities are waiting that there are enough EVs to then improve the network. And this is tricky, but this is where incentives can be useful. Incentives, it should be only to prime the pump, to get something established, not to be the business model. Otherwise, it cannot fly, because everybody will pay a lot, and actually it's not going to come up with a new sustainable business model. And of course, to achieve the mass electrification, it requires coordinated policy, some industry innovation, but once again, it's no more a question of technology. No more. And of course, this again, the grid readiness is a critical enabler to all of this. So let us dive into how we can unlock this next phase together, thanks to the outcome of this distinguished panel. And now I want to hand it over to our moderator, who is going to lead the conversation. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Schomberg. That was really, wonderful insight. And, we have a big panel representing various, sectors, manufacturers, discoms, policy makers. So hopefully they will be mindful of, avoiding the kind of pitfalls that certain other geographies got into, and which has really, perhaps slowed down, the growth of the sector. So hopefully we will not repeat the same mistake.
Yeah. And if you allow me just one word, which is, I think India has an incredible card on hand, which is the capability to leapfrog. Really, maybe one thing to do is really spend a bit of time looking at what the others have been doing, and really spotting all those pitfalls, going much further than what I just described, but because there is much more to learn. And you can leapfrog, and this what can make a huge difference for you.
Yeah, thanks. So I understand Mr. Chawla has this presentation on the sector, and my colleague Ms. Malviya also has a presentation. So I first hand it over to you, Mr. Chawla, to hear from you on the sector.
Thank you, Mr. Majumdar, and very good morning to all the panelists and the participants. To first begin, before beginning the presentation, I would request to play the corporate video of Power Foundation, because there are many new panelists and many new participants which we feel should be well aware about the activities which Power Foundation of India has taken up mainly in the last 2 years. So first we can have a short video depicting our activities, and then we can move ahead with the presentation part. A video,
India's
please.
power sector is at the heart of a remarkable transformation, driven by growth, innovation and transition, and powering the vision of Viksit Bharat 2047. An autonomous society under the aegis of the Ministry of Power, Government of India, the Power Foundation of India is helping this transformation through research, regulatory expertise, data intelligence, and stakeholder engagement. PFI's latest flagship publication is the Report on Rating of Regulatory Performance of States and Union Territories 2025, India's first comprehensive regulatory scorecard covering all states and UTs. Evaluated across 5 core areas: resource adequacy, DISCOM's financial viability, ease of living and doing business, energy transition, and regulatory governance, the report establishes a transparent national benchmark and advances data-driven regulatory accountability. The study on electric bus charging on DISCOM's networks analyzed actual feeder-level data to assess grid readiness and procurement optimization, and to assess the financial impact of electric mobility. Another PFI report on agri-photovoltaics proposed a feed-in tariff framework and an agri-PV specific renewable purchase obligation integrating agriculture with clean energy generation. The study Strategic Pathways for Energy Storage, developed with the India Energy and Climate Center at the University of California, Berkeley, evaluated least cost, operational storage integration for India's evolving grid. Complementing these, the study on the real cost of variable renewable energy expanded cost assessments beyond tariffs. PFI's research also addresses various policy dimensions. With Bloomberg New Energy Finance, financing India's 2030 renewables ambition estimated $400 billion investment requirement to achieve 500 gigawatts of non-fossil capacity. Other major work includes G20 NDC Assessment and India Infrastructure Report 2024. PFI is also a party before state electricity regulatory commissions, ensuring a transparent and stable regulatory framework by submitting detailed comments on DISCOM's tariff petitions. Through regional regulatory workshops conducted in partnership with the Administrative Staff College of India, the Foundation strengthens institutional capacity among regulators and utilities with around 100 officers trained recently. PFI strengthens India's research ecosystem by collaborating with leading institutions, including IITs, IIMs, and Indian Institute of Science. Through evidence-based studies and endowed research chairs, it promotes sustained knowledge creation aligned with long-term sector goals. The Power Foundation of India has instituted the PFI Chair on Energy Independence at Indian Institute of Science, Bangalore, and the PFI Distinguished Chair on Power Sector Regulation and Policy at IIT Kanpur. Ensuring that research translates into action, PFI convenes dissemination workshops and conferences on national platforms. Advancing data-driven decision-making, PFI's Energy Dashboard transforms complex power sector information into accessible intelligence for policymakers and stakeholders. Connecting policy with people remains central to its mission. PFI has undertaken nationwide outreach initiatives on electricity consumer rights, mission life, and sectoral capacity building under the Samarth National Biomass Mission, having trained around 800 employees and workers, and organizing national conferences, while also serving as the knowledge partner at the Distribution Utility Meet 2025 to strengthen distribution sector reforms. Through research, regulation, partnerships, analytics, and outreach, the Power Foundation of India continues to strengthen India's electricity ecosystem. As India advances toward energy independence and sustainable growth, PFI remains committed to a sustainable, affordable, and reliable power sector.
So now just to begin with the presentation. So presentation is basically split into two sections. The first section will be dealt by my colleague Raghav Salwan. He will be depicting the opportunities of how $200 billion, the figure, how it has come. So it has been basically, we can say, crack of one of the report which is there in the public domain. So he will be throwing some light on the opportunities of electric vehicles in India and how it can be achieved, various business models also. The second part of the report would be dealt by myself, and which is mainly focused on how the power sector would be resilient if such flocking of electric vehicles comes into the grid. And that is basically the output of one of our report, which we had launched last year in Distribution Utility Meet, which is based on the actual data of the DISCOMs, which I would be covering in detail. So now it's over to you, Raghav, to start the presentation.
Right. Thank you, sir. Wishing a very good morning to the esteemed dais and audience members. I'll start with the exploring the opportunity of $200 billion of electric vehicles, which India has as proposed in a Niti Aayog report. We start with the need for EV transition. Number one is to reduce the dependence on imported fuel. With the ongoing Iran crisis, we're all reminded of how important this is. Next, it will also help us achieve our national commitments to reduce greenhouse gas emissions, also in improving our air quality. And interestingly, the storage capacity in EV vehicles will also help in increasing the share of RE penetration in the grid. The status as of now, we see that globally the electric vehicle sales have increased in 2016 from about 1 million to 19 million in 2024. In the same time, in India, the electric vehicles have increased from 50,000 to roughly 2 million. So the progress is there, but it is not at par with leading nations like US, China, and EU. And even when we double click and see, get a closer look, we see that across all different categories, the growth is not same. So we see we have two-wheelers, three-wheelers, four-wheelers, and buses and trucks. In three-wheeler category, India is actually leading, but in other categories, we see that the progress has been slow. In electric trucks, for example, there are virtually no sales. And like Richard sir was also mentioning, we have set a very ambitious target of reaching 30% penetration by 2030. And as of 2024, we were sitting at 8%. So there is a huge gap that needs to be covered. And keeping this in mind, Niti Aayog has done extensive consultations with OEMs for batteries, electric vehicles, charging infra manufacturers, discoms, and think tanks and financial institutions. And they've identified 4 major buckets which are hurdles in the faster EV adoption. Number 1 is financing hurdles. So while the costs have come down, electric vehicles are still quite expensive. Fact I would like to share with you all is in 2024, the share of electric four-wheelers which costed more than 10 lakh rupees out of all the electric vehicles sold was only 2%. So you can see that there is still hesitance in the mind of the buyers to buy these four-wheelers. The next challenge is charging inadequacy. So the charging infrastructure is currently inadequate, and even in places where it is there, it is not being optimally utilized. The third challenge is lack of awareness. So like I was saying, there are many misconceptions in the mind of buyers, and then data gaps also exist which is impeding informed decision making by the government. Along with this, Niti Aayog has also suggested way forward. One is to move from incentives to mandates. Maybe the time has come, because till date, all of the policy or schemes we've had, so National Mission on Electric Mobility and then FAME scheme, PM e-Drive, they're more focused on incentives. Maybe time now has come to move towards mandates. The second is to focus, use a bottom-up approach and focus on saturation of EV sales in a few cities. So we start with 5 cities, then 20, and then move to 100. This will help us, see visible impact and then act as a model for other cities as well. Number 3 is we need to scale up our charging infra and R&D in battery chemistries. And then number 4, interestingly, which we will discuss further, is the actual opportunity is shifting away from capital costs to operating costs. So here I would like to share how the battery leasing model is a good business model for electric buses. Currently, what happens is the conventional buses cost about 60 lakh rupees, and electric buses are cost almost double of that, so 1.2 CR. And that is a huge upfront cost for a owner or a fleet operator to pay. Here, battery leasing can have huge potential. What happens in battery leasing model is that upfront you only pay for the body of the electric vehicle, and the cost of battery is then staggered over a few years. And this helps in a way that by reducing the upfront cost, and then the running cost of electric vehicles is anyway lesser than internal combustion engine buses. So the delta there will actually helps in funding the battery cost, and over time, once the battery cost is paid off, the delta then becomes your profit. So through our analysis, we've seen that through battery leasing model, the cost of running will be roughly rupees 27 per kilometer, while the fare in states like Delhi, Haryana, Rajasthan hovers around rupees 40. So the difference between 27 and 40 rupees is a good enough cushion or margin that the electric fleet can have. And once we extrapolate this to 30% share by 2030, this is a $80 billion opportunity. Now, while this works in electric buses, we feel that this might not work for electric trucks. The major difference being that the average distance traveled by electric trucks is much larger than the electric buses. So here the delta of running cost will anyways make up for the upfront cost because the kilometers traveled will be much higher. So in this way, electric trucks is a $100 billion opportunity. As the share of electric vehicles increases in the overall system, we feel that it will definitely have an impact in the power sector. So it may happen that the uncoordinated charging may coincide with the peak of the DISCOM. During the peak of the DISCOM is already purchasing costlier short-term power, and which will end up increasing, and the APPC will increase, which in turn will increase the cost of supply. And once the cost of supply increases, the entire recovery does not happen through EV tariff because it is a promotional tariff. So the balance amount is socialized among the consumers of that particular state and is socialized to all of them. So does this mean that we stop our EV transition? No, it only means that we need to achieve both our goals. So EV transition in addition to making sure that the power sector remains cost effective and resilient. And this is what we've further covered in our in-house report, the incidence of electric bus charging on DISCOM's network and scope for optimal power purchase. This report has been prepared in-house by Power Foundation of India in collaboration with Delhi DISCOMs, BSES and Tata Power. I would now like to invite Shri Himanshu Chawla, Head Regulatory Research and Head Regulatory and Research Power Foundation of India, the author of this report, to share the key findings for the report.
Thank you, Raghav, for such an insightful presentation. So basically, the first phase of the presentation, it gave numbers as to how $200 billion opportunity would come in India. So just considering two assumptions. First assumption, as rightly told by Mr. Richard, EV 30 at 30. This is one of the mission or vision of India. So 30% electric vehicles by 2030. But how will we achieve that 30%? So one of the biggest business model is the battery leasing model, because through that only we will be having a cost-effective electric vehicles on road. Especially this, in 30% of EVs, the major contribution would be the public transport, the trucks and the buses which were discussed upon, rather than the four-wheelers. So if such huge amount of electric vehicles they come on the road, so what impact it will have on the distribution companies? That was analyzed by Power Foundation of India based on the actual data of charging stations of Delhi DISCOMs with a load of 70 megawatt of dedicated charging load capacities in Delhi itself. And the aggregators, we have few from the manufacturer ends also, like Tata Motors we have. JBM also was invited, but due to some situation, their vice chairman Nishant Arya, he could not make it up. So we will have views. And also we have from the charging partner, Tata Power, charging from Mumbai, they have come. So what impact it will have to charging operators, to distribution companies, and what business model do companies like Tata Motors, JBM or Ashok Leyland, how they see the impact of such vehicles. So just to be quickly come to the point. So the point is distribution companies in India, they have been facing since last many years the problem of the peak demand. And the peak demand is such a critical area as far as the power sector is concerned, because it occurs for a very short interval of time as far as India is concerned, and even the northern parts of India is concerned. But legally, if we see as per section 43 of the Act, DISCOMs have to supply power on that peak demand also. They cannot deny, they cannot go for load shedding, citing reason that this has occurred only for a very short interval of time and I would require to procure high cost power. Therefore, I would prefer to do a load shedding. So that legally it's not tenable, because 43 says, which has been also dealt by Supreme Court also, the universal service obligation of our DISCOMs. So in nutshell, each and every demand, even if it is occurring for a very short interval of time, it has to be supplied by DISCOM. Now we see, this is the actual figure, only in 42 time blocks of a year, just last year, which is roughly out of 35,000 time blocks, only in 42 time blocks, the last 20 gigawatt of demand came. But in order to meet that 20 gigawatt, I need to procure 10 rupees power, which is the maximum capping in India, which is the exchange part. The similar pattern is for the Delhi, which we had analyzed from their actual load curves. So if we see the last 1,000 megawatt of demand, which came in financial year 25, it just occurred only for 1% of time interval in the year. Only for that 113 hours out of 365 into 24 hours. So even this, now then we went deeper and we analyzed that 1000 megawatt, it occurred only in the 4 months of the year. And then we went again on an hourly basis as to see in which hours of those 4 months that we can say the culprit demand, the peak demand came. And then it was only from 1 p.m. to 3 p.m. and then from 11 a.m. to 2 midnight. So now the problem statement is that only these 5 hours in 4 months, it is the part wherein the maximum peak demand used to occur in Delhi. Then we did this simulation exercise based on the actual data, and we analyzed that this through superimposition of load curves, that charging of electric buses is coinciding with this peak demand of DISCOMs. Now this is the real problem which will come up in the urban cities like Delhi, Mumbai, Bangalore in future years. And this we have analyzed last year, so hopefully this report will be seen by other states also in how to mitigate the impact of or how to avoid charging of electric buses in the peak period of our distribution companies, when distribution companies are already suffering. They were already suffering in order to meet the demand during such peak period. So all this have been discussed about our vision of EV 30 and 30. So why we have chosen electric buses only in our report is because they are huge energy guzzlers as compared to the four-wheelers. And this is the 65 megawatt of dedicated electric bus depot, which is operating in Delhi. And as per the submissions of BSES Rajdhani, BSES Yamuna and Tata Power, and in discussion with DTC and the Transport Department of Delhi, such dedicated electric bus depot would be around 500 megawatt in 2030 or 2032. So we have a dedicated depot of charging electric buses. So much huge load is expected to come in next 5 to 6 years in Delhi. So the commercial side impact, apart from the operational side, which we have seen how they will meet such load, which is coming as a spike for 1 hour and then becoming zero. And on the commercial side, if we see that spike which is coming, it is being met at 10 rupees per unit of power purchase cost. Whereas the revenue realization as per the tariff determined by the regulator is just 4 rupees. So delta 6 rupees is being socialized to other consumers, including the domestic consumers. So in a way, this is not a net zero game. I am procuring a high cost power to meet a spike in the demand, whereas I am getting only 50% of the cost of supply. This is the business model of electric buses which is operating in Delhi. So all these graphs are based on the actual data. So if we see the charging, the first graph, the charging part, so when there is a charging, at that same point itself, the graph below, there is a peak which is coming off our DISCOM. And when the buses are on road, the valley part, when the buses are plying, at that same point itself, there is off-peak of the DISCOM. So based on the actual numbers, it is proven that this charging is happening in the peak period of DISCOM. It is coinciding. It is increasing. It is catalyzing the problem of a DISCOM. So definitely we have a vision of 30% electric vehicles by 2030, a $200 billion opportunity or maybe more $1 billion opportunity. But as far as power sector is concerned, especially the distribution companies, so they have a problem ahead in the next 4 to 5 years. This is the heat map. If we see, I'll just very quickly try to cover this heat map. So this is for BRPL for the month of June 2024. So they have 4 dedicated electric bus depot. One is Mundela, 5 megawatt, Mayapuri, 4 megawatt, Nehru Place, 5 megawatt, Sukhdev Vihar, 7 megawatt. In all these 4 depots, the red portion which you see in the first column, the time block, the demand is basically coinciding, the charging pattern is basically coinciding with the actual peak demand which is occurring. The similar load curves are there for other DISCOMs of the Delhi also. So this report first identified the problem based on the evidence research, not just table research or something. It was based on numbers. So we identified the problem based on numbers. And the second part of the report also put forward the solutions, how this spikes of peak demand can be effectively met by the DISCOMs. So the first, how this spikes could be met is basically shifting the charging pattern. This shift we had discussed with the DTC officers also as to how they can shift half an hour above or below the peak demand without hurdling their transport schedule or all these things. So, but this is a time gap solution. This is not a fundamental solution to the problem. This is just to avoid the problem. The better option which we see to meet such spikes in the system is we cannot go for having a long-term PPAs to meet such demand, because the PPAs are always a 2-part tariff in India. Long-term PPAs, we need to pay the fixed cost also even if we are not taking power from such stations. So the better solution to meet such spikes in the demand is to have decentralized battery energy storage system at DTC depot itself, installed at DTC depot itself. So those batteries will get charged during the off-peak period, and during the peak period, the discharge can happen and they can charge upon the buses. So we have 2 solutions in the report which is being dealt up there, to have a 2-hour battery storage solution or a 4-hour battery storage solution, and to charge it during the off-peak hours and then to discharge during the peak hours and get the buses charged over it. So with this, we have analyzed the cumulative impact of savings. Like currently they are procuring the short-term power to meet such demand. So when it will be shifted through the battery energy storage system, 2-hour storage, 2 cycles, it will translate to roughly 750 crores of cumulative savings till 2030. If those batteries are funded through ARR by Regulatory Commission in their tariff petitions. Now in Delhi, we also have a Power System Development Fund, which is, there is a regulation which has been approved by the Regulatory Commission. And in that fund, it is just like a UI fund type, of UI pool. In that UI pool, it is roughly 2,000 crores. If Pradeep, I think 1,800, 2,000 crores. That amount is lying idle in that fund. So our better solution, which we had depicted in the report, is to channelize that fund There is already a committee which has been formed in the regulations of various senior officers of Delhi government and DRC. So in order to channelize that idle fund lying with Delhi, this in PSDF fund, and to fund these batteries to get it installed at DTC depot. So when this funding is, because that is all, it's actually the consumer money after all. So if we use that fund and procure batteries and get it installed, the cumulative savings, which was earlier 750 crores when the batteries were funded through ARR. So when the batteries are funded through PSDF, the savings would increase to roughly 1400 crores. And we need to think not only the DISCOMs of Delhi, but also the DISCOMs of Mumbai, Tata Power, Adani, BST, because we had discussion with General Manager BST also. Similar problem they are facing in Mumbai. And I think it's my gut feeling, even the DISCOMs of Bangalore and other urban areas where under the FAME scheme so much of electric buses would come into picture, this problem might be there, but we are not addressing that problem as of now. But I think the time has come, we should address this problem of cost-effective charging of electric buses. So that's it from my side. Maybe now we can move on to the next presentation. Thank you.
Yeah. Hello, everyone. Thanks for having me here. First of all, unfortunately, my CEO, York, could not be here because of flights which are getting impacted right now. So I'm here on behalf of EcoG, which is based on actually Germany. So we have already talked about battery, we have talked about vehicles, we have talked about the grid pointers. Now, on behalf of EcoG, I'll be here to point out what different methods we can have on EV charging, which can actually, the flexibility in EV charging, which can enhance the power availability, and we can use the power in much better way. So I'm happy to share some insights how an increased flexibilization on EV charging can overcome the bottleneck of power availability. So let me just brief something about EcoG first, so as to understand what we actually do in this business. So yeah, we are based in Germany, but obviously we are also have good footprint in other regions like Europe and India and also America. So in EcoG, we just do not manufacture or we just do not produce the controller, the brain of the EV charger, but we also support local companies to build the charging infrastructure from the base or from the scratch. So our partners have already delivered around more than 25,000 DC fast chargers, which are already making 2.3 million chargings per month. And we have also few of the customers who are actually using power blocks, which I'll further discuss later. So in this next slide, if you see, I would like to show you like how the flexible energy hub can look like. So if you see here, this is the charging station. So if you see in the right side, there is a power block unit. There is a BESS also, and you can see the dispensers as well. So I think with the use of power block, first thing, power block is something which can be used from 30 kilowatt to megawatts as well. So this actually uses a less space. You have the stackable solution over here, which can be upgraded like in the power wise. And also you have dispensers so that the proper utilization of power can be done. Right now in standalone DC fast chargers, you can see that it is actually very restricted power is available and restricted power distribution is happening. However, with the help of power distribution, power dispenser, we can actually dynamically do the load balancing thing. So that is one point here. We can also use a different method here. So if you see this depot right here, it uses power block, it uses BESS also, which sir has discussed already. It can also use the pantograph and other stuff, which can actually utilize the power in much better way. So the BESS allows high power charging sessions also with reduced power grid connections. The fleet management system allows power control and flexibility within the disposition needs. And finally, I would like to mention here the V2G thing. So right now, finally with V2G allows the auxiliary services and grid support to feed back power when it is needed. So in EcoG, we actually we have this we rolled out bidirectionality in large scale along with the mobility utility Mercedes. So we have this DC bidirectional with them. It is tested with the broad pool of V2G enabled EVs and also running with the standards of ISO 15118. So it is around 11 kilowatt right now. And we have this, along with our software, with our management software, we provided mobility of around 10,000 kilometers at no cost if we use this bidirectional charging infrastructure. So this is 10,000 kilometer per 10,000 kilometer per year in UK, France, and Germany. So if they allow these business partners to manage the V2G auxiliary grid services. So next is one more thing. I think like right now the buses and the trucks are actually using double socket or single socket, and they are actually spending a lot of time in charging itself. So the next solution could be the MCS, which is megawatt charging. And we already have this solution and we are testing it with MAN trucks, which is MAN actually. So this can further reduce the time on the charging station itself, and it can increase the time on road for the heavy vehicles, for buses and trucks. So with this forum, I would actually like to promote this thing that let's think about MCS. People are already thinking about, but obviously we are not on roll right now, and at least in India. So at last, I can say that one controller with combined MCS and CCS support and other models as well, we can obviously efficiently manage the power which we have right now. So just a second. Yeah. So with this forum, I would like to emphasize on V2G adoption, MCS adoption, and the power dispenser adoption for the EV charging infrastructure. So yeah, that's the thing from my side. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Mr. Chawla, and thanks, Meenal, for your insightful presentation. So I have, I'd like to begin with a question to Mr. Schomberg and then maybe Himanshu. So, one of the questions, that I had was that, from an IEC standards perspective, what are the critical framework that India should integrate early on to ensure a seamless V2G deployment and grid-aligned charging infrastructure at a national level? Am I audible? Yeah. So basically, if you can shed some light on, how to ensure seamless V2G deployment and grid-aligned charging infrastructure at a national scale.
Well, I was expecting this question, and even in my introductory address, I did not even mention standards. But the key, as soon as you want to scale up, okay, you cannot do it without standards. And you have a very well-established Bureau of Indian Standards that is actually really having the right thinking about this, all the standards, but specifically for EVs and for this sector. So I'm not going to enter into any technical detail. Of course, BIS has actually adopted some international standard IEC international standard, and the key is not to all of a sudden from no standard jumping to try to be compliant to the most stringent international standard. The key is to have a stepped approach. And this is where the localization in some countries like India, this is where a decision has to be made about the steps that have to be followed progressively for implementing part of the international standard. This is very important. But most importantly is the fact that there are some available testing and certification processes and people able to operate those. Because standards is great, but they are of no use if you cannot actually assess that they have been properly implemented. And just to finish on this, IEC has established what we call certification schemes, which is one test in one country worth in all the countries in the world. So definitely this can help considerably India to set up operational labs, to be able and to make sure the testing and certification will not become the bottleneck of this industry. Now there are other things I could share, but I think we need to also listen
That's
to.
very useful.
Thank you.
Himanshu, you have a few questions for our panelists?
Today is the last day of ISUW, and our one parallel session of Indonesia workshop is also going on. So they are just so maybe we can have Professor Saikar from IIT Kanpur. We can start from there. So what do you like from the Institute of National Importance? How do you see this electric vehicles in the grid, the problems, the technical problems may be related to frequency disruptions, harmonics, all those things. So if you can throw some light about the major grid challenges and also the possible solutions, because since we also have DISCOMs and the charger operators here in this session, so the challenges and the solutions to it.
Sure, thank you. First of all, very interesting presentations here, and I'd like to connect some of the dots here. As he presented very correctly that those peaks, they come very intermittently, okay? And, there is a popular saying that when something can go wrong, it will go wrong, and things tend to go wrong and simultaneously. And so when the electric buses are charging, it's going to happen that the personal vehicles also, they are going to be charged. So the spike is something that is probably we cannot avoid, okay? So that's one thing. We also did some studies. In fact, we are executing one of the mission mode projects funded by the ANRF that is mainly looking into the grid impact of massive EV penetration. And also at the same time, we are going to look into the technologies that needs to be developed in India, for example, charging infrastructure, wireless charging facilities. And here at this point, I tend to agree with Richard that yes, there may not be any massive or innovation that is needed in terms of technology development. Technologies are already there. I look at it mostly as a problem of application or deployment of the technologies. For example, the peak loads, we know that those will be there a few times a year, but how can we deal with it? The solutions are there. Basically, you have to be optimizing the charging schedules. So that solution is already there. Enforcing some amount of restrictions on individual charging activities. Those actions, control actions, or preventive actions we already know. Now it's a matter of deploying or bringing those solutions to the application or to the field. So there is there's something that is needed. For example, first of all, if you want to ensure that the chargers are, that the vehicles are charged in such a manner that we do not see the overloads. First of all, you have to know what is happening in your system, how far is your charging station, how many vehicles are already getting charged. So, for example, that information monitoring mechanism is something that you need. As of now, that is not so much there, not at least in India. This is again something we are working in the project, and Professor Panigra is also a key member of this project. Now we are going to develop a real-time monitoring platform. So this will tell you, for example, if you are driving an EV and you need to get it charged, maybe the dashboard will tell you that you have 30% charge remaining. Which one is your nearest charging station, where, which is available for charging, okay? So those kind of information will be displayed. But it also needs a lot of integrated information. It needs information from the vehicles. It needs information from the utilities as well, okay, from the charging stations as well. So this is one challenge, the development of the monitoring platform and so on. So personally, when I looked at that opening statement that it's a $200 billion opportunity, I do not see entirely it as a sales figure. I also see simultaneously a lot of opportunities coming from an academic background. I see a lot of opportunity for research as well, deployment of the technologies. So that's one part of the thing. And also, I'll just give you regarding this, the need for standards. We have a work package on the development of wireless chargers, and we have tied up with the Indian startup. They have come up very nicely, and the product is almost in the final stage. But one bottleneck that they are facing now is how to get it standard, tested and certified. And for that, they have to go to Germany probably and then get it tested there. It's a huge burden for them. In fact, we also requested ANRF whether we can develop, whether they can fund such development of testing and certification facility in India. So that's something that is probably we need to think about. Okay. So yeah, as of now, these are the things that are coming into my mind. Yeah, thank you.
I have one question for the DISCOM guys. Maybe I could begin with Mr. Pradeep Agarwal. Yeah, good morning, sir. So, Delhi has been one of the pioneers in, green transport. I mean, beginning with CNG and now also in electric. So how can the DISCOMs, support the transport department in, green charging in such a way so as to not put a burden on the consumer as well as on the end user? So what can the DISCOMs do to, promote green charging?
Yeah, thank you. Good morning to all. I represent BSES Rajdhani Power Limited. Thank you, organizers. Thank you, PFI, for providing the opportunity to share our views. First of all, let me share the actual numbers of Delhi. Delhi at present is having a 16% EV adoption. When I say 16%, that means 100 new vehicles registered in a year, 16% is EVs. Now, the numbers, if I talk about numbers of EVs presently in Delhi, it is approx 4,25,000, might be 5,000 up, not considered the last one data. The out of 4,30,000 EVs, approximately 4,500 are electric buses. The total load which we have sanctioned as on date in Delhi is approximately 250 megawatt to 300 megawatt. Particularly in BRPL, we have sanctioned around 125 megawatt. if 4,300 electric buses, the sanction load is almost half of what the total EV load which we have provided in BSES. So effectively, out of 125 megawatt, 75 megawatt or more than 50%, 75 megawatt is supplied to electric bus depots only. Now coming to the consumption part. If I take the MDI, maximum demand indicator of all the depots, out of 75 megawatt sanction load which we have provided to e-bus depot, the MDI is 52 megawatt. Hence, there is a 25 megawatt cushion still there to increase the load. And the additional 25 megawatt we have already provided to them in advance, so that as soon as the bus reaches their depot, they can immediately bring to the operation. So 50 megawatt cushion is already there. So all these numbers, if I boil down to the demand, overall demand of Delhi, at present it is 250 to 300 megawatt. The total demand of Delhi, the peak load which we have catered is approx 8,800 to 9,000 megawatt. So it is almost 2 to 3% of the total maximum demand. If I forecast these numbers to 2030, the demand probably grows by 700 to 800 megawatt pan Delhi level, and the electric vehicles which we have envisaged will reach to 15 lakhs to 16 lakhs. So these are the demand pattern. Now coming to the tariff structure which we are offering to e-bus EV charging. At present, there is a promotional EV tariff which is provided by the regulator. For HT, it is 4 rupees. There is no fixed charges. For LT, it is 4 rupees 50 paisa. Again, there is no fixed charges. Hence, the network augmentation cost is not recovered from the EV charging, EV users. Now coming to the time of the day aspect. During May to September, there is a time of the day tariff applicable, which provides a 20% surcharge and 20% rebate during peak and off-peak hours. Now coming to the e-bus, what is the cost impact for e-bus charging? Since these depots are connected at HT, so the tariff they are availed is 4 rupees. During May to September, there is a peak season when time of the day tariffs are applicable. During off-peak times, the effective tariff is 3 rupees 20 paisa for the energy cost and 4 rupees 80 paisa during peak times. If I add surcharge and other taxes duties on top of 4 rupees 80 paisa, the consumption during peak time comes to rupees 6 per unit, approx. Hence, there is a potential where I can say from the PFI study that solar RE plus BESS could be another option, because in the report, the RE is considered at 2 rupees 80 paisa and the storage for 4 hours storage is considered as 3 rupees 80 paisa per unit. So 3 rupees 80 paisa, 3 rupees 20 paisa and 2 rupees 80 paisa, almost cost around 6 rupees per unit. Now coming to the question where how can we, the objective of deploying electric bus is to charge entirely the buses through green power. Presently, what we are supplying to the DTC depot is having a 40 to 50% RE mix. My entire grid is almost having a 45% of green share. For example, if I am supplying 100 units to e-bus charging, 45 units are from green sources, rest 55% are from conventional sources. Now there could be a potential option where transport department can procure additional green power. One is green energy open access, where the landed cost after surcharges and all prescribed charges and wheeling charges, the landed cost, if I assume RE to be at the same rate, 2 rupees 80 paisa or 3 rupees, the landed cost could be 7 rupees. Hence, there is some delta increment. There could be another option where transport department could avail green tariff from DISCOMs, where entirely green energy is being supplied by me. But that is again comes at a premium of 50 to 60 paisa per unit. However, in Delhi, the green tariff is yet to be notified by the commission. In Maharashtra, there is a 60 to 70 paisa premium prescribed by the regulator. The third option could be solar or RE plus BAS, which as per the report is having a costing of similar costing what we are supplying to the e-bus operators. Hence, there is a possibility that without increasing the cost, the benefit of green charging could be availed. And the twin objective of Transport Department, that is charging entirely e-buses through green energy without impacting any commercial cost, that will be achieved. So that is from my side. Yeah.
Thank you very much. I think that was very insightful, and it's very encouraging to see that the DISCOMs are fully committed to supplying green power, and they are quite confident of meeting the demand of electric vehicles. Himanshu, you have some questions?
So we started from IIT Kanpur, we came to a DISCOM, and then again we are back to IIT Delhi. So this is such a beautiful panel. I would like to say that we have such participation levels. So to Professor Panigrahi ji, who is Dean IIT Delhi. So, sir, we see there is, if we talk on an actual basis, pan-India level, there is not that much progress in electric vehicles in order to meet the vision of 30% of EVs by 2030. Definitely the progress is there, but especially if we see in the four-wheeler section, if we keep apart those vehicles being supplied by ESL or CSL in government offices and all. So, but the private, like retail level or persons who just want to buy a car. In fact, I personally myself was changing vehicle around 1.5 years back. So with like upper limit only. So if I talk in that, even this Tata Nexon fully loaded was in that same I got Maruti XL6. So CNG fitted. So basically the high premium, maybe Tata Motors is here, they can explain much about why electric vehicles are still, they are highly priced, even though so much of IC component is going out of it and only that battery is getting installed. So why that delta is still too high? Because if we see one of the vehicle, Tata Nexon fully loaded IC comes at 10 lakhs and then EV comes at 17 lakhs or 18 lakhs something. So question to sir is that what, sir, you see the technological innovations, basically it's required to bring down the cost of EVs so that it is affordable. It is not a second car option for people like us. It should be the first option.
Yeah, thank you, Himanshuji, for at least inviting me, and thanks to PFI in organizing such a nice session. And when the theme of this conference is the smart energy and smart mobility. At least I'm very happy that both important verticals are combined together, smart energy and smart mobility. But to have your ambition of 200 billion business, we have to ignite at least 200 million minds in India. Because your first question was, despite of so much incentives by different government agencies and others, why the adoption of EV is not progressing? And the answer is already given by you in your presentation, where you have told the two important things is the financing model and the mindset of the people. So those things are very important. We have to change the mindset of the people. Ultimately, see, if you will tell a public, you adopt the EV because you are improving the air quality of Delhi, he will definitely, he or she or they will think, am I the sole torch bearer of reducing the pollution here by paying higher price for my electric vehicle? You have asked both the questions to me, isn't it? So why should I? Like we have a story in our earlier days from our grandfather or grandmother, everybody is asked to put one pot of the milk so that the pond will be full of the milk, and everyone thought in the night, if I'll put one lota of the water, what will happen? So ultimately, nobody put the milk, everybody is water. So that's why that mindset has to be changed. And perhaps this is the right time. Most of us facing the same problem, looking into, you see, one time was the COVID time when we changed our mind and come into the online system of the classes, online system of everything. We got a lot of advantage. Now, looking into the recent time, I will not explain what is this time, what difficulty we are facing, and what is the apprehension also. Looking into that, everybody must have to think that at least if I have 2 or 3 vehicles, one should be electric vehicle, so that I don't have to go to the petrol pump and having the anxiety whether the petrol will be available after 2 days or 3 days, or the diesel will be available 2 days to 2 days. So that mindset has to be changed, number one. Because you expect from me to be the technical, you have asked a few questions on the technical to my good friend, Professor Saikat Chakravarti. And I'm happy to see many of my friends here, and Professor Dr. Babu from DSD. Everybody is looking into this EV domain. So many ministries are involved in India, particularly to promote the EV. So my second point is, that's why I told we have to ignite 200 million minds for the adoption of the EV, starting from the school level to the higher level. So that is the important thing. Then you told about the technology. Yeah, I have seen actually the presentation of one of our panelists who has already showed. The advancement of the technology is much more important, because the cost of the electric vehicle is mostly because of the cost of the battery. You told we have already taken the IC engine component, why the cost is still high, but it is because of the battery. And a lot of research is now going on, and everybody is trying hard. Maybe the dependency of the present lithium ion with our neighboring countries, and how to reduce that dependency, and why not come up with some solid state battery which may be very much useful for the EV as well as the static storage also. See, there is a little bit difference. In the static storage, the volume doesn't matter. The space constraint is not there. The weight constraint is not there. But if I'm using it in the EV, then the density matters. The cost also matters. The reliability matters. The safety matters. So, we have to look into everything. So this is, for me as an engineer, it is a multi-criteria decision making for me. Which is the best material for the battery to be used in EV or to be used as a static storage. So much more emphasis has been given by our various ministries, and particularly I always used to tell we have to remember the vision of our Honorable Prime Minister, the Atmanirbhar Bharat by 2047. Let us not dependent on the others. So technological innovation is one of the important factor, not only in the battery sector, but also in the other sectors, like rare earth-free materials for the development of the motors. We don't have our own motor controller. We depend on others, the motor controller. And most importantly, my co-panelist already discussed and pointed one thing. The software-defined electric vehicle and the software-defined electric vehicle charging infrastructure is most of important thing. Because it takes a decision, the intelligent decision. We want the intelligent technology, the smart technology in every sphere. Whether it is a smart material, whether it is a smart charging infrastructure, whether it is a smart charger, or whether it is a smart decision-making system. So when I'm talking of the technology, not only the technology is based on the final product only, but a best software, a cloud management system. So all those are the various aspects where we have to work together, and I'm really happy that here every stakeholder is present to look into this particular thing. So that is my final say. Let us, everybody has to contribute towards this EV domain, irrespective of who you are, which ministry do you belong, which company do you belong, which startup do you belong. So this is the time to have a collaborative effort to go forward in the development of Swadeshi technology for the betterment of India. That is my request to all of you, and we must take this as a pledge if we want to fulfill our Atmanirbhar Bharat by 2047. Thank you all.
Thank you, sir. In fact, with this vision itself, we have Power Foundation of India has set up a chair at ISC Bangalore as to how we can meet the goals of Viksit Bharat indigenously within the India, our own technology, our own everything. Because external, we always have some geopolitical risks associated, so how those things can be met up. I think we can again move back to DISCOM. CTO, Chief Technical Officer, Chandigarh Power Distribution, Mr. Pramod Mishra. He could not make it because of some very urgent meeting by Chandigarh Administration Authority. So maybe now I hand it over to Mr. Majumdar. He can ask the questions to his colleague, Mr. Anuj.
Anuj, so what are the gaps that you are seeing in terms of EVSC deployment in urban, semi-urban and highway corridors? And how do you think the DISCOMs and private sector players can collaborate to address them?
Yeah, thank you very much for inviting me. Actually, if you will see the scenario of urban areas, metro city like Delhi, Mumbai, Bangalore and all. So population density is very high, as well as there is a challenge of space, mostly in the urban areas. And if you somehow manage to get the space, the rental of the space is very high. And that is not business viable. And if you rely on the fleet operators, so Blue Smart is the classic example. And fleet is the movable thing. And we invest, as a CPO, we invest in the static infra. And that is the huge cost. And that is the major challenge in the urban areas. And in rural areas, basically semi-urban areas, if you will see the utilization or EV penetration is very high. And if you will see the utilization, it is hardly 2 to 3%. So that's why we are facing the challenges of utilization in the semi-urban areas. Now let's come to the highways. And highways, if you will see, the electricity feeders are the rural feeders. And we are facing the challenge of, power capacity, grid capacity, feeder capacity, as well as the reliability. And EV consumer, if coming to the highway and going to a trip and all, and he expects that charger should be up 100% of time. So that these are the major challenges we are facing in the urban, semi-urban and highways. Thank you.
I have a question for the manufacturer side. Mr. Matab, so I wanted to hear from you, what are the kind of financial and policy incentives which would help in accelerating the private bus fleet electrification, particularly for smaller operators and from smaller tier 2, tier 3 cities, etc.?
Yeah, thanks for that, sir. I'm audible? Thank you, PFI, for conducting the session and particularly inviting me. So I think a couple of questions related to private fleet, bus fleet penetration in India. And then that too, we are talking about tier 2 and tier 3 cities. So I think currently, if you look at it, tier 1 cities, the bus fleet penetration seems to be moderately dominated by authorities like transport authorities and all. So when it comes to tier 2 and tier 3, so there also I think we need to strengthen those authorities who can be in a position to start the business first. So actually early bird position should be taken by some authorities, some level at state government level or central government level should take that initiative. As a part of this, already central government has taken a couple of initiatives through a PM E-Drive Seva, PM E-Drive, PM E-Seva, various drives they are leading it. And also some of the state governments like Maharashtra, UP, many other state governments, they are already started penetrating into tier 2 and tier 3 cities. So if you look at, for strengthening this particular EV penetration deep into those cities, first and foremost thing requirement would be the infrastructure. When we talk about buses, I think the road infrastructure should be the first thing. They should be in place. And secondly is the charging infrastructure. So that plays major role when it comes to EV buses. So even in tier 1 cities also, we have been encountering many more challenges as rightfully put up by our co-panelists from Power Discom. So similar situations would be there in those cities also. So the loading cycle also going to be more or less same. The load duration curve what Mr. Himanshu presented. I think if you are targeting for similar kind of road applications for passengers of those cities, so then the load duration curve is also going to be similar. So having known this particular load duration curve, the DISCOM should come forward with such kind of power availability in those cities first. And then penetration of EV will definitely take place. So that is on the one side. And then secondly, that there has to be a specific targeted incentive should be given. Because when we are talking about something to start first, I think from government side, there should be some incentive measures should be there. Then only people will get attracted towards that such kind of business. So we have to spend a lot of time in spreading the awareness, so which is currently going on through PFI in a great sense. And then same way the financial mechanisms, whosoever there, they should be taking a lead in terms of approaching various such kind of service providers, making them aware how this business can be a positive profit-making kind of thing for them in long run. So that is also another area. And the third thing is that the cost of the bus itself is coming high, as rightly pointed out by Professor. The battery cost is really taking a front seat even now. So though it has come down from 45% of bus cost to currently it has come down to 30 to 32%. Even for the same thing is applicable for EV buses also. So I think that a lot of focus needs to be given in terms of indigenizing the technology, wherein I would look at industry institute interface kind of things should come in, the way it happens in Western world, where universities also come forward and then contribute in terms of having a lot of technological penetration into the industry and taking it forward. So I think such kind of things should take place. Then we can definitely see so many EV buses flying in tier 2 and tier 3 cities.
So basically what you're saying is that, bringing down the cost structure, financing and incentive plans, and support from the DISCOMs, this will be very critical for, mass adoption of EVs in smaller towns. So since you referred to the DISCOMs, I'll go back to DISCOMs. I have a question for Mr. Chandra. How can tariff structures be designed in such a way that, various programs like smart charging, V2G, battery swapping, all can be incentivized without putting pressure on the DISCOM balance sheets?
Thank you, sir. Thank you, ISUW, for organizing this session. I represent Noida Power Company Limited, power distribution company in Greater Noida area. And if you see, total right now, as of now, UP is one of the most state having a 1.5 millions of electric vehicle registered as of now. And by 2030, we are talking about almost 30% of sales from the EV. I mean, 30% of total vehicle that will sell in the 2030 will be from EV segment. So that will stress the distribution company grid. But at the same time, being a proactive distribution company, we are thinking, or we are seeing a large opportunity over there in terms of distributed battery energy storage. If you see, as per the Niti Aayog report, by 2030, there is a potential of 600 gigawatt hour battery capacity required for the energy transition perspective. So, yes, this is obvious. A smart charging time of use or time of day tariff will be very beneficial from the DISCOM perspective. If you see the tariff of UP as of now, there is no any fixed or demand charges for the EV charging. So I think that's good for the faster adoption of EV infrastructure in a state. But at the same time, if you see the targets, ambitious targets of 2030, where we are talking about 100 millions of electric vehicles on the road. So on that time, during the peak management, battery energy storage will play a very vital role. And in that scenario, vehicle to grid technology is very beneficial. How we can leverage that technology to support our peak, and that will be the very win-win situation for the consumer as well as the DISCOM. So we as a Noida Power Company Limited are right now collaborating with our technology partner to establish a pilot project in our areas where we can leverage the dual flow of electricity and how we can take a benefit of this battery energy, distributed battery energy storage. That's the one part. Another is battery swapping. If you see the data of UP, out of 1.5 millions of electric vehicles, most of the vehicles are two-wheelers. So in two-wheelers, battery swapping station will play a very vital role in terms of efficiency, in terms of time. So battery swapping station equipped with battery storage and RE is another game changer for a CPO, charging point operator, or battery point operator, as well as the DISCOM. So we are also collaborating with battery swapping stations where we are doing a pilots by installing solar as well as the battery energy storage system to charge a battery storage during the off-peak time and discharging that battery in the peak time, so that there is no any stress on our grid, and at the same time we can leverage the technology for the peak demand support. So that's we are doing in Greater Noida areas.
Thank you, for sharing your insight. Himanshu, you'd like to take some question?
Thank you. So this has been a very interesting discussion. So we started with Richard, who through international what is happening globally related to EVs, and so without being biased to EVs and having heard Delhi Discoms, Noida Power Discom, and the manufacturer side Tata Motors, we also heard professors from reputed national institutes, IIT Delhi and IIT Kanpur. So 30% target is definitely achievable, but it has to be achieved in very cost-effective way. So we see there is a problem everywhere. The first problem in this whole supply chain, the first problem is basically the high cost of EVs, which definitely, as told by Mr. Matta, it has been coming down, especially for public transport, buses, trucks. But for four-wheelers, for people like us who don't want EVs to be their second vehicle, but they want to be the first vehicle, still cost is a bigger challenge. So we also wish to have JBM Vice Chairman Nishant Arya, also his views on this, but he's not here. So on the other side, coming on to the second supply chain, charging partner, Tata Power, he has come a long way from Mumbai, in fact, on a very short notice. So before coming to your part, Anuj, so we have a problem at the DISCOM end also, because the load, the charging is coinciding with their peak demand, which is resulting into increased power purchase cost, whereas the recovery is just 50% of the cost of supply. So this we dealt in the report also, and has been beautifully explained by Noida Power and BSES. So now we come on to that middle part of the supply chain, is the charging infrastructure. So over to you, Anuj. Please let us know how Tata Power is planning to promote local ecosystems for bi-directional chargers, especially like what is the buzzword, we call it as V2G. But V2G, very recently, I have heard some news related to US. I don't know, maybe Richard can correct me. Companies like Tesla, they have now mandate that vehicles which opt for V2G, the warranty of the batteries will not be provided by Tesla. I have heard somewhere. So because those batteries installed in the vehicles, they are not meant for bi-directional flow of power. So by opting for V2G, the warranty goes off. The OEMs are not giving any sanctity related to the batteries. So maybe you can cover both the aspects. And also one important thing also you can cover, what gaps do you see in the installation of the charging in the urban areas as well as on the highways? Over to you, Anuj. I think there are a lot of questions, but we want everyone to be answered by you. Thank you.
Basically, there are three questions. One is the localization of component. So if you will see the current scenario, we are completely dependent on the in the China, at the China for the power electronics component, like the converters, AC to DC converter. Second part is the controller. We are around 70 to 80% dependent on the controller of the EV chargers. These are the two critical components of any EV chargers. And being a Tata Power, we are focusing on the localization, and we are working with a couple of startups, and some of the startups have developed the microcontroller for the EV chargers. That is one part. Secondly, there are some other components in the charger, and that can be locally available, but still charger OEMs are using the source component due to the cost. So we have done one thing, and we have revised the specifications of our EV chargers and fix up the makes for most of the components like MCCB, ELCB, wiring, control wiring, and a few minor components. We have fixed up the local makes. So our charger, whatever we will procure in future, will be 70 to 80% local. That is one part, and that is the clear-cut point of view of the Tata Power. Second part is the B2G technology. B2G technology is in very initial phase in India especially. So we are working, currently some foreign companies are providing the B2G solutions, but we are focusing on the local. And we are working with one startup, and we are aggressively working on the B2G technology and have some work done, and hopefully we will implement in end of this financial year. Third part is the, I think, challenges I have already covered in the last one. And I hope the, what are the challenges? We are working, not only us, ministry or government is also supporting, and for a vision of 2030, and EV penetration will increase, and definitely CPO, the utilization of charger will increase, and of course, we will set up the new charging stations in the urban areas and highways especially.
Yeah, thanks, Anuj. I mean, it's great to hear that, Tata Power is, promoting indigenization of the value chain. And in fact, I was planning to actually, ask, Dr. Panigrahi even before this, and good that you charge upon it. Ever since Industrial Revolution started, we have been consumers and not producers of technology. Obviously, we would want that to change. So we want to understand that how can academia help in, developing the, innovation in the, EV space and charging space, charging and storage. And are there any interesting examples you can share, case studies you can share with us, where our domestic academia has done some good work, if there are any case studies you want to share with us.
Okay, thanks Sabasji sir asking me this particular question, and I think this question is not only to me, this is also to some extent to Saikat, so because both are from academia, so I'll answer that particular question. The academia which was 25 years before, the academia which was 10 years before, and now the academia is completely different. So the focus has been changed from teaching to research, now research to product development. Most of the academia are engaged either with MSMEs or supporting the young startups or supporting the incubation, and how ultimately we can take the thing from the lab to fab. Not alone, we need your support, we need the support of the industry, because the problem comes from the industry. Like Anuj has categorically told, they are making the product development with some startup, maybe taking help of some academia. So it will tell in that sense, almost every IIT, I am not naming IIT X or Y or J, are having their own incubation center where we are promoting the incubators irrespective of from where you are. Not necessarily you have to come from the same IIT, from where you are. Even if there are people who have already left the industry after superannuation, even if I'm glad to say here I'm supporting 2 or 3 incubators, I may not tell them young incubators. They are young in incubation, but the age is 65. After leaving certain industry, come forward because they understand the problem very well. So, like you asked this question, this is very fantastic question. That's why industry and academia, once upon a time, they are different, and we are doing a lot of conferences, roundtable discussion, industry, academia, collaboration to promote it. No promotion is required nowadays. Everybody understands it, the academia understands it, the industry understands it, the people sitting on this side as well as the other side, everybody understands the importance of industry, academia, partnership for, again, the same thing, indigenous product development. I don't want a brain from somewhere, the heart from somewhere, body from somewhere, and a human being. No. It must be indigenous, solving the problem of India. It must be India specific. So that is the most important thing. So I must agree, not only the IITs, even NITs, central universities, even if the private universities, everywhere you can see. And the government is also promoting. You can find the Atal Incubation Center everywhere. So that gives the mindset of the young people. And recently, let me tell you, it is one of the initiatives of the DST where I found the young kids of class 9 or class 10 have come up with the idea and the product, which is, I have never imagined during my engineering career. So that's why our Gen Z is changing. Everybody is changing and everybody is trying to find out once upon a time, the teacher is used to give a problem to solve to the students. Now the thing is reversed. The students come with the problems to the teachers. This is the problem I want to solve. Can you help me, sir? If you want, forget, I will go to somewhere else. Because this is the globalization. So, I hope I have answered to your question. We are ready. You are ready. Everybody is ready.
Thanks.
Our government is ready.
Yeah.
So, let us be future ready for 2047. Thank you.
And Sekat, would you want to share your insight and if some interesting, case studies or examples you want to share with the audience?
I'd like to mention here is that there was this Maha EV mission mode project called from ANRF, and I believe 300 crores were allotted to several institutes. And we are also executing one such project. And there was a very clear mandate in these projects that whatever technologies that we are working on, eventually that is going to reach TRL level 6 at least, sometimes even 7 or 8 maybe, okay? So, and there was a very clear mandate that 10% of the funding has to come from the industry, and also there are several startup partners as well. So, eventually the vision is that at the end of this exercise we'll have several technologies developed, and those technologies will reach a very mature stage, almost ready to be deployed in the field. So those initiatives are already in place. And on a slightly different note, I'd also like to add a few comments here regarding this V2G technology. Coming from an academic background or as a researcher, I think it's a high time we see the EVs not as a liability to the system. We see it as millions of moving batteries in the system. Let's treat them as assets, balancing assets, okay? And this V2G technology will be one of the major enablers of this balancing act. And there are numerous benefits which can be achieved by the use of this technology, not only in terms of minimizing the peak saving thing. When we talk about power system dynamics also, there's a major disturbance. That time we can borrow power momentarily, maybe for a short duration from the EVs. They can also act as a primary, the momentary frequency support mechanism. So there are a lot of things we can do with these mobile batteries. Why don't we start with the e-buses? I know there are a lot of, as somebody mentions that there might be apprehensions of warranty getting out of the agreements if it is a private-owned vehicle. But let's start with e-buses, where it's probably relatively easier to implement restrictions or policy implementations. So we can, and they're also high-capacity batteries. So we can start with e-buses maybe. Let them participate in the demand response, grid support mechanism. Of course, we have to have this V2G technology. Unfortunately, if I am not wrong, in India, we don't have that any private vehicle or any EV that is ready with that technology. By the way, we have also tied up with Hyundai. There is a Hyundai Center of Excellence. Professor Pranigrahi is co-chairing that center, and IIT Kanpur is also part of that exercise. So industry is also coming up, very eagerly to these initiatives. Okay, so that's all.
Thank you, Dr. Saket. From the panelist side, Meenal, we would just like to know from you, since we have heard we have been heading towards EV transition in India. So how do you think how India is scaling, in fact, towards corridor-based fast charging, and what software defining this charging architecture, ensuring interoperability, grid stability, so those aspects can be dealt by you.
Yeah. Thank you for the question, Himanshu. So actually for the DC fast charging, right now the standardization actually plays a vital role. So right now we can see like all the EV, or mostly the four-wheelers, are actually on the standards, but some do deviate from the standard. And that creates a struggle in between. And that comes with the heavy vehicles as well, with buses, with trucks and all. Eventually they, like in some of the cases, in some of the OEMs, they develop their own technology. Like right now we have seen with the dual VCCU, single VCCU, there are no standards for that right now, okay? But somehow people are cooperating with such technology if it is in favor of, advancement, if it is in favor of, this thing can work on such vehicles and such charging methodology. So yeah, interoperability plays role in such kind of atmosphere or ecosystem where different vehicle demands different sort of, charging infrastructure, charging method to be provided. So yeah, we are too much into that. So interoperability, it's like charging every vehicle with the same standards. We always wish to or push every, like even the EVs and even the charging EVSCs also to be on the same standards, to follow everything in line and everything in as per protocol. But if always there is a gap in standards, you can see like there is no proper mention of particular thing every time. So yeah, so that's how we are gathering this thing, and we are somehow managing this thing to be able to charge each and every vehicle and to correct the charging communication and the protocols between EV and EVSC. Yeah. And on one more topic, like for the V2G, I would like to just know about, since I'm not that much experienced, but yeah, for V2G, there is also one notion that battery do charge and discharge as well. And because of that, battery life could be affected. So like, what is everyone's thought on that, first of all? And obviously, for V2G in India, we need to have a proper code from the grid side. So that is one thing which we really need to. We have already tested that V2G in Germany. So yeah, there is a full concept, at least for the DC side. And there is AC and DC, both bidirectional things are available. But how we go ahead in India with all those pros, but there are multiple other cons which we can conquer. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Meenal. Definitely, interoperability will also play a major role in making this EV vision successful. So now we come back to the chair, Mr. Richard. The panels and the participants are highly delighted to hear from you, sir. Sir is academician. He was professor in a French university. He is former president EDF, Electricité de France, and now in his current capacity, he is one of the renowned member in IEC. So we just want to hear from you, sir, on this whole issue of smart energy and smart mobility.
Yeah. Well, thank you. I'm extremely impressed by what I've been witnessing here with this panel, and this is really demonstrating an incredible Indian brain power at work to really face the challenge. And I'd like to share a perspective based on my experience as a professor of system engineering of complex systems and of executive of a large utility. So wherever you go in the world, you see the electric system and community organized as a collection of different stakeholders. And it looks great. It looks clean and well organized. But of course, if you start to think about this as a system engineer, actually the complexity, a huge complexity, is hidden within the borders of those stakeholders. So it looks simple, but it's actually even, the complexity is even worse. And the devil is in the detail. So it's very important to keep in mind that as soon as you organize something with different entities, each entity is just trying to optimize its own position, its own business. But unfortunately, this is quite universal law. You see, the global optimal cannot be the sum of the local optimals. And this is where the problems starts. I mean, even the roadblock, meaning that the more they each try to contribute to solve, to boil the ocean, because we've been trying to boil the ocean here this morning, and that's fine. That's really what in every country the ecosystem is trying to do. The more each stakeholder is contributing, and the more the system is completely blocked. So also very important thing, very important but very simple. When you're facing something very difficult to resolve, very complex, there is a counter nature thing to do. That's quite universal also. And what is it? Is it that it's already very complicated, but just enlarge the problem. Just enlarge the problem to actually increase the space of possible solutions. And okay, it seems philosophical, but it's more than that, because actually you cannot easily, in one step, do everything, you see, because there are market players, you have organized market rules, and you can try to use this to make happen this incredible achievement that has been described here. But actually, this is where you may think in several phases, several steps. You cannot light a fire with big logs all at once. So let me just share with you one very simple idea, but that can be, of course, discussed, and we're not going to discuss it here. But why not try to do first very simple things to actually really keep at arm's length the complexity of the entire beast. Let's imagine that Discom, they are selling electricity. Why they could not expand their business model by actually making the investment in the batteries, because the batteries are very expensive, but also they are the essential risk. They are the technology risk. This is a hurdle that the financier doesn't want to assume, or they don't know how to even finance this risk. So let's have this come. Actually making the investment, they lease the batteries for vehicles, and even when the battery starts to be depleted, they can reuse the batteries, of course, for stationary storage. And actually, then even for vehicles, it's easier to sell the vehicles because most of the cost of the vehicle is the battery. Then there is also a possible second-hand market because the people are not scared about, hey, is the battery too old or is the battery, and there are new technologies coming in. So of course, there is a risk, there is a cost, but this can be completely embedded in this business model, and this can be financed just in one place. So I'm just putting on the table a very simple thing. You could say, oh, no, but they cannot work, etc. Of course, it can be discussed. I just wanted to give one example of very simple thinking. You see, I'm very much, I love complex systems, but you see, I'm very excited as soon as we can find a path that is so simple that people even didn't think about it. But considering what I just described, it is actually moving away from the established borders between the stakeholders. Because Discom is not leasing equipment, but they are selling electricity. So in a nutshell, just step back 1 minute, use the incredible willingness and the brain power that is here available in India, and try maybe in a first step to do something that can be local for one fleet somewhere with one Discom. And when this starts to work, then this can be expanded and go to the other steps. I'm very impressed with everything I heard here. I am absolutely confident that a lot will be achieved. It will happen. Just one last comment. I draw your attention about what Tesla is doing, which is flying away from the EV business, right? So, okay, I leave it as food for thought. But you see, you keep that in mind. There might be good reason they are doing this, and whatever you may want to do and invest, etc. Keep in mind that, hey, if this guy, if they are doing this, there might be a reason. You have to be prepared also to that. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir. And I now hand it over to Anand from ISGF.
Thank you very much, Himanshu. So we have come to the end of this session. So I would request the chair of this session to felicitate the fellow panelists. I would invite Mr. Sabyasachi Majumdar. Can I have mementos, please?
Maybe we can also invite on dais. Mr. Reggie sir is here. You can also join us. And from Power Foundation side, PK Singh sir, Senior Advisor, PFI. Sir, you can also join us.
Himanshu Chavla. Dr. B.K. Panigrahi. Mr. Pradeep Agrawal. Dr. Srinu Babu. Mr. Krishna Chandra. Mr. Anuj. Mr. Anuj Kumar. Ms. Meenal Malviya. Dr. Chakravarti. I would request all the panelists to come forward for a group photo and then we'll discuss. Thank you very much.